Yeah. You gotta work. You gotta work, grind, shine, it's mine. Gotta show everybody it's my time. Getting here, you gotta work, grind, shine. Never mind who talking down, cause they lying. Don't talk, you gotta work.
Let the conversation begin. This is Let's Talk with your host, Carl Lee.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Carl Lee with Let's Talk with Carl Lee and my co-host, Delegate Hollis Lewis. Is that right? Is still Delegate?
Yes, sir.
But give me a little bit of an update on what you're doing, where you are, and that kind of thing, because we haven't had a discussion about that.
Well,
before we start the show,
I got appointed in November 2023, so I just did my first session in January, February, ended in March. So currently, right now, I'm just running to basically maintain my seat. So we have primaries. I don't have a primary opponent. That'll be in May 14th, the primary, and then the general election will be November.
But you don't have anybody that's really at this point running against you?
Not in the primary. I will in the general.
Oh, okay.
So the primary is like, same party ticket.
Okay.
And then the general, you run against the opposite party.
Okay. All right. Well, good luck. When is that?
The primary is May 14th, and the generals, I think, November 5th.
Okay.
4th,
so normal voting time.
Normal voting time.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, today, one of the conversations, Hollis, that I think I have found to be interesting, just because we hear so much about coaches and all of that. Like, what is the actual role of a coach? You've played, and I've played, and we both have coached. I coached as a head coach. You coach as assistant coach. But give me your expectations of what, as a player, what you thought at the time the role of the head coach would be, and then when you started coaching, what role you expected or what role you saw. Not to critique the coach so much, but just. And my point of having this discussion is I think parents sometimes don't get it of what that role is for the coach. I think sometimes the player, that good player, he's thinking or she's thinking that all that attention, because he or she's the best player or one of the better players on the team, you're supposed to get all that attention. I don't know if anybody gave me that information as it related to a specific or specific players.
Well, I think when we talk about like the role, and we're talking specifically head coach, right? Yeah. I think when we talk about that, I would say
as you first start and give me what you would expect. Again, going back and saying if you were a player today, knowing what you know, and maybe even if you want to go back to when you were playing, and again, I coached you. So what was it that you were looking for in that coach specifically, or what you were looking from a coach?
I think I would say first and foremost, a great teacher. I think that, the first, and again, when we're talking specifically head coach, when we're talking about specifically like football, again, programmatically is going to depend on kind of the level that you're at, right? Even within college, it would depend on D1, D2, D3. It would depend in Power 5 versus non-Power 5. But I would say first and foremost is that you want a great teacher, somebody who's able to articulate the overarching overview of the game. Doesn't necessarily have to get in the nuances of this or that, but is able to teach you the game, to able to increase your IQ, to able to make you understand, how we are going to meticulate this thing from any of their little quirks and nuances, or however they're going to do it, whatever perspective they're going to come from. I would look for first and foremost a great teacher.
Okay, I'm going to buy into the teacher piece of that, because I do think that, you know, if you're coaching is teaching in a sense.
Because I think you got, like, particularly maybe in the area that we grew up in, the area that we played in, you got a lot of yellers. You got a lot of those hard-nosed, quote-unquote, stereotypical type of coaches. And they may have been, been able to motivate you in one sense, but they weren't necessarily great teachers to help you teach the game, if that makes sense.
I strongly disagree with you in that statement. And I think that because I was in that era of
you were in the middle of that era.
Yes, that yelling and screaming and cussing and grabbing you, grab you by the face mask, grab you by your shoulder pads. All of that was okay back in the day. The thing to me that I want to say I liked, or I can appreciate looking back, was that hard-nosed coach that's going to make you do it right. You know what I'm saying? Like he's not going to pat you on the butt and say, come on, get it going. You got to do better. He ain't going to give you that. You're going to get, come on, or what are you doing? You're not here today. You need to get focused in. I know today that wouldn't work.
No, that I think, to your point, I'm not necessarily disputing that. I'm saying a lot of coaches in that era got caught up in doing that, and they didn't teach you anything. And you got to understand, I'm a quarterback. Right. So all that's fine, but then you have to come back and you have to teach me the nuances of kind of what we're trying to go. And even in the nuances of just, passing the football and the mechanics and different things like that, those are learned skills. So you have to be able to teach those skills. Now, if I'm just messing up, or if I'm continue to make the same error, then I don't mind a little yelling and screaming, even a little face mask grabbing. But you have to teach first, and not just being a butt chewer.
Yeah. Okay.
Be clean.
And I'm gonna compare us together. Yeah. I'm gonna put us in the same seat for a second. Quarterback's a hard position to coach. If you hadn't played it, then you had to have studied it.
100%.
Or you got to have somebody on the staff who has been a quarterback to do that.
Yeah.
I think the same is true for defensive back, especially corner. I think corner is a hard thing to.
I don't know how you guys play corner.
But
it's a different thing.
But I think it's difficult to teach if you don't know it. Like you can say, okay, cover 3, you got deep third. And that's all that you got. You teach him. And I'm not even gonna say you teach him backpedaling, but you put him out there, have him backpedal, and if it looks wrong, it's wrong. If it looks good, then it's good.
I got you.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And so as long as you do that, then you're okay. So I think there are positions like quarterback. To your point, if you might not get all the information that you need. Throw this route, throw that route. Yeah. Here's your steps that you need to make. Again, DB, you got to backpedal this kind of way. Those positions are harder. You can always find an offensive line coach. You can always find a D-line coach, somebody who played linebacker, running back, receiver. Yeah. Quarterback's a little bit more of a challenge. So I think, which again, I think is why we have very few great quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Because, and again, if you're a quarterback and you're handing the ball off all the time, that ain't helping you.
But I would even say, even in doing that, that is an art, right? Because even if you're running like a wing tee or some sort of option thing, even doing that is an art, and you have to be able to teach it correctly. I can remember when I was at State and Coach Chevalier, And he taught me how to run the option. And I had learned it in high school, but I didn't learn it to the degree that he taught me.
Right.
You know, just getting the ball back, wait till you buckle, make decision, keep your eyes. Those in addition to the steps. So even if you're running one of those type of offenses, you still have to have a coach that's going to be able to teach you that. Even to your point, as a DB, he could tell you deep half or you got third or you got middle, but he has to say, okay, in this situation, if this happened, you got this. Now, if this happens, that happens. You know what I'm saying? So he has to be able to teach all those scenarios within the confines of whatever scheme that we're running.
And see, and I think back in my day, you got deep third.
Yeah.
And you pretty much go with it. You know, you do your drills, you do your backpedaling and stuff like that, and you're breaking on the ball and all that kind of stuff. And again, we're not at the coach. We're not talking about the coaches per se. We're talking about just the reality of what it was.
Yeah.
Because nobody went into detail. You know, like I guess
that's what I'm saying. You got to go into detail if you're going to be a coach, or if you're going to be a head coach, you have to demand that your assistants go to that level of detail, so the players are not surprised when these different situations pop up. And that's basketball, hockey, baseball, whatever.
And I hate to say this, but sometimes when coaches hire that buddy.
Yeah, it don't work.
It don't work.
It don't work.
You know, because you want your buddy wants on the staff, so you put him somewhere, and then where do you put him? You put him as a DB coach. You know, you put him somewhere that you think doesn't matter. Where does it not matter?
Yeah.
I don't think there's any space that it doesn't matter.
Yeah, and the reason I think you in my eyes you coach as a teacher first is because I think what it does, it brings up the players who are not as talented. They have everything, but they're just not as talented. So you're able to coach them up, and they're able to get in positions, or at least they'll have the knowledge of kind of what they're doing. And then the players who are exceptionally talented, if you can fine tune them, then they'll just be a step or two ahead of everyone else once they have the knowledge of what exactly they're doing. Because I think and it just was too much yelling and too much screaming. And again, I'm not talking about it from trying to get you to tough or trying to, not to get you to be emotional. I get all that. That's fine.
Right.
But I'm just saying, when you do that and then you forget to teach, that's the problem.
Well, and again, sometimes I think the mistake that could be made as a coach, that coaches make, and I'm not naming or saying anyway, but just overall, is if you're doing a quarterback, then you have to teach the quarterback to make sure he understands defenses.
100%. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. But I think the most important thing is to make sure that they know defense so that they know what the coverage is. So if they recognize the coverage, you can say, oh, it's cover 3, but if you don't know where people are supposed to go, then you're stuck again.
And that's the other portion of it. Not only do you have to, teach me what's going on offensively, but you also have to teach me what's going on defensively. And to the other side of that, in addition to being a great teacher, I'm looking for a head coach specifically to be a great administrator. And I think as a head coach, you have to particularly, and I'm saying, like, if you're coaching at maybe like a state, or you're coaching at a smaller school, let's say a smaller college, you're not at the Alabamas or the Florida with all the resources. You have to be able to go out there and fundraise. You have to be able to, you got to be everywhere. You got to be a politician. You got to be, you know what I'm saying, making sure that guys are in class, guys getting grades. You have to make sure that you understand all the NCAA processes and procedures and different things of that nature. So you got to be great on that side as well.
Okay. So I had contacted, a few coaches that I know, and they gave me bits and pieces of what they thought the role of a head coach should be. And I thought this one was really interesting. The most important thing we can teach our student athletes is how to be a leader with a championship mindset. There are two ways that we can do this. Okay, now, discipline and accountability is one.
Yeah.
And then and this is the one I think that is difficult. Cultivate a championship mindset. I don't know exactly necessarily how you do that unless you're in that place of being a champion. You know your team has won a championship. How do you build the championship? How do you get the championship mindset?
See, I to me that's a little bit more difficult because I think that, you know, I don't know, and I'm sure there's examples of it, but I don't know if you've ever, like, just looking at a professional or collegiate level, right, that you've ever like cultivated that mindset absent of players who may have had it. You know, I think to that degree, you have to have you got to have the talent at some level,
right,
in order to ready to cultivate that. Because you can have like a championship mindset, but if you don't have the talent, you're not going to be. We're just talking about like you know, the physical act of winning.
And we're not saying that the coach is wrong. What we're saying is when if you're looking to be a head coach and you're trying to figure out how to be, where to be, how does that all work? Mm-hmm. I agree with you. I think if you walking into South Charleston at the time that I walked into it, I don't know if I could find a championship mindset because I don't think there wasn't a player. Now, if I could shift that mindset.
Well, I think maybe you could. And again, when we say championship mindset, what does that mean? That may not mean the physical act of winning a chip. It just may mean maximizing whatever you have too. So I mean, just to be fair.
So, and again,
but I think it's difficult though.
The first part of that was develop and or the future of the future of a player. Yeah. So to me, I like that. I think if you can get in and you can make every player better, and set them up for the future, and that future may not be football. Yeah. That future, and again, on down below, it's about the discipline and accountability. And being a student athlete, one of the coaches had talked about part of this is about being a student athlete because your success doesn't necessarily on the field doesn't necessarily guarantee you that next level, whatever that next level is. But if you understand the discipline and you apply that, the accountability, you apply that all to the academic side of it, then no matter what football is or basketball or baseball or whatever it is to you, you're going to take care of that because you're going to take care of that in the academic side.
I mean, I understand that. But again, even academic, and that's why I say, like, to me, even academics, right? Not every player you have is going to be a student. They're not going to, academic is not going to be their strong suit. Right, so I think your capacity.
I don't know what do you mean by that? Because I don't know if that's true. I know.
Every player is just not going to be academically inclined. They're not going to have that acumen where they're going to be able to go sit in the classroom. Because we know players, right, who's went to play 4 years at state and they drive trucks, they cut hair, they do other things outside of their given major.
But if you put in, if you as that coach, you put in that concern about this ain't forever. You ain't guaranteed to play Sunday. So it's more important for you to make sure that you get yourself academically sound, get that degree so that you can become something.
See, I disagree with that. It's more important that you have the capacity and the willingness to learn. Now, whatever that learning is for you, it may not be in that classroom. It may be here on this field. And if you can get taught a skill on this field, then you may go be a coach. Or your capacity to learn on the field may translate to doing entrepreneurial things, or may cut hair or drive trucks or doing something else outside of what the university can offer you. So again, some players are going to be academically inclined. They're going to have that. But I think as a football coach, we can't put all that on us, right?
I see what I'm saying. I see where you're at.
But if I can teach you and I can get you to learn at a game, at something that's your game, something that you just love, but now I got to teach you to learn the nuances. To your point, You know, when you're with Pete Carroll and you're doing the punch step, you did that a million gazillion times, right? But it taught you to do things you're not perfect, but it taught you to do something perfectly. It taught you to do something instinctually. That now when you go up, you line up against a guy, you know the coverage, that's automatic. So it increased your capacity to learn, even though it's just football.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. And what's funny is you being the academic person and me being the athlete, I'm over here trying to say that there's some focus that needs to be on there's a carryover from what I have on the field that I got to put into the classroom. And on the other side of it, you're saying, no, that's a single focus on the field. That's a single focus, and you're not necessarily.
I guess what I'm saying is that, we want to encourage, if I'm a football coach, I'm definitely going to encourage my guys to find other interests. I want to encourage them to do their best academically the same way they do here. But as a football coach, I can't pit all that on me. I'm going to have my study halls. I'm going to make sure that you try to do your best in the classroom. But if I'm the football coach, my job, I'm going to teach you the game of football. And I'm not going to go ahead and roll out a ball and have you, we're just not going to play. We're going to learn. We're going to study the nuance of it. And we're going to get out here and be experts in this thing. And I'm saying that expertise can carry over to different lanes.
Well, I'll say this, because me as a coach at West Virginia State, you were accountable. I wanted to make sure that you knew you were accountable for the academic side.
I mean, that's a given, though. No school, no play.
Yes, and I wanted to make sure that we stayed on top of that, no matter who it was. If you were the number 1 player, number 50 player, I don't care. You need to be in class. So we're checking classes. If you're not in class, you're running, and all of those kind of things, because there wasn't no certainty that there was going to be a scout come this way. And so your best opportunity is to get that degree. And I think for me to have, as much as I harped on perfection at the game, I'm going to make the case, and you can challenge this if you want and see where you thought it was. My main focus was the academic side.
But see,
when I get to the grass, though, once I'm at the grass, it's all grass.
Yeah, but I just think, look, it's to this point. If you're taking psychology and you're taking English, the psychology professor ain't worried about what the English professor doing. The English professor can't worry about what the psychology professor or department does.
I understand.
And I'm
that.
saying athletics, you got to take care of athletics. And if you do it right, and because the thing about being in the athletic program, particularly football, which is generally the standout or going to get the most attention on any college campus in the nation that has a football program, it's so many opportunities to learn. It's so much to do, because not only are we teaching you the nuances of your position, this game, your side of the ball, we're teaching you, Coach Edwards used to say, you're living in a glass house. We're teaching you media training. We teaching you, if you study, if you're up under Rick, if you're in the athletic, we teaching you getting some knowledge of athletic training. We're teaching you how to lift weights. We're teaching you how to condition. We're teaching you how to eat. We're teaching you how to study, not just your academics, but your playbook. So I'm saying, if I'm the football coach, I have to worry about football things. If I'm the basketball coach, I got to worry about basketball things. And I'm saying it's enough opportunity and enough time to fit a bunch of stuff in there within the confines of what I'm doing.
I buy that 100%.
Yeah,
I really do. But I don't think, and I don't see anywhere where any one of the coaches that I reached out to locked down just their role was the athletic part of it. There's some social pieces to it.
Again, that fits all within athletics.
So you're saying that if you're the athlete under that coach, under those rules, that you're going to spend your time playing ball and learning those lessons, but when you walk off that field, those lessons are going with you. Is what you said.
100%.
Basically, yes. Okay.
100%.
Okay.
Because if no matter what you talk about, if I'm talking about how to engage yourself socially, I'm saying, again, you're living in a glass house. If you the big man football on campus, then there's certain things you can't do online. I'm saying we got to be media trained. I'm saying we got to be gentlemen. I'm saying we got to know how to write and articulate ourselves so that when we go comment on the game or comment on our teammates, we don't look foolishly. So I'm saying within the confine, particularly football, because it's such a grueling, such a long, such a strenuous game that it's so much that you can only play one time a week. I'm saying you fit all those lessons within the field of play, and all those things. It's like luggage. You build it up brick by brick, and it just goes with you. And I'm saying when we start to try to add too much stuff or try to think too much outside of the game, that's where we fail.
All right, so I have my hat on, and I usually have my hat on in at the rec and all that kind of stuff. One of the things that Sonny Randall used to make us do is take our hat off when you enter a building, whether it's the gym or whatever. And you know me, and then there's a whole host of other guys that are hat guys who just wear it every day, and you know, you would first try to sneak, you try to keep it on because you're not thinking anybody's going to see you. And then all of a sudden somebody lets the coach know that they saw you with a hat on in the building. And then you got to get up early in the morning. You got to run. You got to run after practice and all that kind of stuff. So you're like, okay, this is not even worth trying to beat this. Just go with the system. I think those kinds of structures are there. They're not out there anymore. Like I don't know if coaching, the head coach, whether he's supposed to, not supposed to. I'm not saying he's supposed to or not supposed to, but I'm just saying in the difference of head coaches and how you develop a kid. Like every one of the guys that I played with in college, bro, is taking their hat off as soon as they hit the door for the meeting room.
See, to me, I find that like nonsensical. I don't see how that's going to be applicable to. I don't see how that's going to be applicable to anything. But what I will say is applicable is coach lead time. That's one that you had. We set our clocks 5 minutes. Was it late or early? Early. So that way you always 5-10 minutes early. Now, what I'm finding in my political life and in my professional life, it's always better to get to a place early than late. You know, even for like, even for just the basic of reasons, right? You want to get to an event early so you can take pictures because generally the big wigs is getting there early and they leaving early.
Right.
So that's applicable. So something like the Haverhill, I don't find it applicable to anything.
Well, because there used to be the rule. There used to be the rule of you couldn't wear a hat in the building. Like even in school, like you couldn't wear a hat. Like you couldn't. You couldn't wear. Like you couldn't go into the classroom with a hat.
Okay.
You know, so it was to me. And again, I wear my hat everywhere.
Yeah, I've never seen you. I hardly ever see you just without a hat.
Yeah,
close proximity.
So, but I did learn that lesson. Mm-hmm. And so if it was ever needed, like that would be something that I would be able to easily adjust to. And I say that only because I never forgot it.
Yeah.
You know, and those kinds of things are I think they're missed. I think, and to your point of time, being on time,
that's a
huge one. Like
huge one.
And I didn't come up with that. That was Sonny Randall. That would have been Bud Grant. That would have been like anywhere. And you know today, like in your profession now, you can't.
Don't be late.
No,
it's just. Or I would even say, it's just better to be early. I'll just put it like that, just to put it to positive. It's always better to be early. And I think that and just to get back to the point, when we're talking about these rules and we're talking about these sort of coaching philosophies and strategies that are going to have effects outside the game, they have to be, number one, they have to be applicable. And I think it has to be if we can make it where it's in the confines of the game, I just think it plays better. I don't know.
All right, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll jump back in it as soon as we come back.
Follow us on Facebook at Let's Talk Carl Lee. Visit WCHSnetwork.com/Let's Talk for more.
Sponsorship opportunities are available. Contact Carl Lee at letstalk@promessage.com, Dale Cooper at dcooper@wvradio.com, or call 304-342-8131. Ask Carl a question or comment on current or previous episodes. Visit Let's Talk Carl Lee on Facebook. Like, rate, and subscribe from your podcast service to help more people find Let's Talk with Carl Lee. Now, back to the conversation.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're back from the break, and Hollis and I are beating back and forth the role of the head coach and his responsibilities, I guess, in a sense, and how that has an impact on, I think, the future of an athlete. Like, I think everything about me is, I think I got from the coaches that I had, from Homer Criddle, who was military type guy, Sonny Randall, military type guy, Bud Grant, military type guy, those kinds of, and even junior high, my junior high, I know it's middle school now, but you had somebody who was so disciplined and holds you accountable for any and everything. That's whether it's being in class, whether it's being late for class, whether it's being late for practice, whether it's like anything that any rule, late for curfew. You couldn't even be late for dinner.
Yeah.
For your meal. You had to be on time.
See, I think all those are good lessons.
And so I think where coaching has dropped off, to me, is that we don't want to put that accountability. And I think the accountability comes with the parents now, because some of these parents have to drive. They have to drive their kids. Sometimes they're not off. They're not off, so they can't get there in time. But that should be something that's discussed so that you know. Yeah. But if you just randomly late, or you're bringing your child late, I don't know if that helps him understand being on time.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you on that one. I think just the dynamic has changed, because back in the day, you lived in close proximity to wherever you played. So you ride your bike, you walk, and it wasn't like a far off. You didn't have to travel on the interstate to get to practice. One of the things I would like to see, in addition to like the time, attire. Like, I know that, when I was at GW, even at State, like, you couldn't come out in the practice field with random colors. You couldn't, you had to be dressed appropriately for practice. Yes. And I think
everybody looked alike.
Everybody looked alike. Everybody had the same colors, same, we're going to have this on this day, this on that day, et cetera, et cetera. And I think stuff like that carries over to a person presenting themselves neatly within the standard of whatever industry they work in. And I'm interested to see what was some more of the comments.
Well, here was one which kind of plays into that. I think the biggest role is getting them to buy into the process and the culture, which should be designed to help them grow in all areas of their life. Getting them to develop the habits of consistency and accountability, helping push them beyond what they can see, and challenging them in the areas of uncomfortability to them to be great.
And see, and that's what it is for me. We're going to, whatever the process and procedure that you set forth as a coach, whatever we're doing, I need you to buy into that. Because if I can get you to understand and I can get you to maximize yourself within that process and procedure, you'll be able to do it in other areas of your life. And I think that's what he articulated what I was trying to say perfectly.
Okay, so let me ask this. Okay, so does it really matter what the coach, how the coach does this per se? If you follow it, if you are willing to follow it, you're going to learn some of these lessons. Like,
I think it matters. It matters how they do it.
Well, I'm not going to say how they do it. I shouldn't say how they do it, but what they do. As long as they're doing something that's holding you accountable. Because I think the biggest thing that I keep seeing is accountability. That word, discipline, accountability, self-discipline. I think those types of words are cueing into that individual to learn what is happening, learn what is going on in this structure. Like you get to the Capitol, you understand how that structure and culture works.
Yeah,
and you know what.
Well, not necessarily, but I understand it. I'm gonna let it play out and learn it. I'm going to learn it. I understand that there's a process and a procedure. That's what I understand.
Yes. So you know that you have to kind of work into that process and the procedure to understand it as quick as you can. Because if you don't, somebody's going to keep calling you on it. Yeah. And I think, and my question becomes to the coach, to you, do our kids today, are they worried about that? Like, are they worried?
And I would say no, because obviously we see that with the movement, and I don't want to travel down that rabbit hole, but you see with the movement, the transfers and stuff like that, if it doesn't work out, I'm just on to the next school. And I would put it in the context of like offensively, maybe you have this guy over who's running a spread offense, or you have this guy running an option offense, right? Mm-hmm. If I'm able, as like to say the quarterback, if I'm able to say, okay, I know that my skill set is more of a passer, but I'm going to get into this wing tee where I may pass 10 times a game, and I'm going to master this. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I'm going to challenge myself to master it, even though I know I'm better suited maybe for something else. And I think stuff like that, it can help you, right? It can help you.
And I think parents don't understand how. You know, and let me just say it out, and I'll fix it. How well scouts look at an athlete. They're not looking at that athlete at quarterback, at corner, at DB. You know what I'm saying? Like they're looking at where they specifically think that player can play. Mm-hmm. And he may not, or she may not have played that position at all.
Yeah.
But ends up getting in that position at whatever that next level is, let's say to college. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden, that they can play it.
Yeah, it's the same thing like big men now. Like, right? If you're a big man, every big man wants to go out into the wing and shoot threes and dribble drive, right? But if I'm a big man and I can go up under the post and I can post up, and by the time I get to the next level, not only do I have that skill, but I also have the skill playing in the wing, so I can do a little bit of both. So I think that far as like on that end, when you're talking about parents, you have to be able to think holistically about development and skill set and this pathology. Like, for example, I think the case for travel sports is perfect in this instance where, for example, if I have a big man, when he's playing for his school, maybe he plays under the post, but when we go to AAU, you're going to play on the wing to develop that skill. Right. You see what I'm saying? I think how those things can sort of complement one another.
Because again, unlike football, you once you're something, you're that for a while until somebody else tweaks it and sees that you're something, that they think that you're something different. Like it took me, I played in 2 different games. I played corner at Marshall and everything else was safety. So I'm thinking I'm a safety, but every scout that looked at me as a corner. I was long arms, big hands, all that kind of crazy stuff. And I wasn't even sure, that I was okay with that. And again, I even moved back to safety my second year just because like I felt good. I was like, okay, this is it. But all of a sudden, I realized size and the physicality of that safety position was even above my head. You know, and I'm thinking, hey, I'm physical. I don't mind running into anybody. But that was like, that happened too frequently. Yeah. So I end up going back to the corner. And from that moment, it was crazy to me how well they knew me better than I knew me. They knew what I could do better than I did.
Yeah, but again, though, you trust that those are experts, though. I would say those NFL scouts were experts, and I don't think parents now I don't know if they have the same trust for us at the lower levels, high school and stuff like that.
But my point to this is, it doesn't matter where you play.
It do. You can't say that. I mean, I agree with you on one end. I agree. I think it's always good to challenge yourself, but I also think that sometimes you know. But you don't know what you don't know, like, okay, because like, again, I'm going to make the case that there were 1,000 black quarterbacks that never got a chance to play quarterback 100%.
that could have played. There's no question.
No, it's not even coulda. It's shoulda.
Yeah, they should have played. Should have played.
Brother from Mississippi who's throwing Jerry Rice the ball. Mississippi Valley should have been in the league.
So changing them to a receiver and DBs and stuff like that back in the day, that was a horrible situation because that was a issue around leadership. You couldn't be a black quarterback and be a leader.
Or an issue of the times.
Of issues of the time, yes. Yeah. Now you see it, and some of your best quarterbacks, in college, they're not even thinking about playing another position. Yeah. Ain't nobody thinking about them playing another position because you got Mahomes, you got these guys out there that could prove that they could think and do all the audibles and do all that kind of stuff.
And I'm saying, and to me, that's the case. I mean, again, we're not there in that time anymore, but that's the case. Sometimes you know. Like sometimes some kids know.
And I'm sure some of those guys truly knew they were quarterbacks.
And I think some kids know. Some parents know, like, my kid is going to be doing this. What's some other ones? Believe in them, talking about your players, and hold them to a high standard of discipline and accountability. I like that one too.
Yes,
I like that one too.
I think that's important. Could be one of the most important one because that's everybody. Yeah, that's not the star, or the guy that's sitting on the bench, or the girl that's sitting on the bench. This is the team.
Yeah, and I like that because that pits it squarely within the confines of the game. And I'm saying, look, you're part of this Yellow Jacket or Cougars or whatever. You're going to be on time. You're going to be dressed appropriately. You're going to walk with your head up high. This is the grades that we get. And it pits it in the confines of the game where we're not trying to be your parent, your mom, your dad, your teacher, We're your coach, and this is the standard that we're going to have for you to be a part of this thing of ours.
And to that point, I 100% agree with you. That takes mom, that takes dad, that takes uncle, that takes all them out of it. You're out of it.
If you want to be part of this, this is
what we do.
Yeah.
And you don't, and you're, because this conversation is trying to assist you in understanding that there's going to be a point in time you have no control over the system. The system is bigger than you.
100%.
100%. And you're going to be the one who's going to keep coming to the school trying to tell the coach that your kid is something else. When they moved him to another position, you're going to try to convince them that he needs to play somewhere. So here's what: if he ain't the quarterback, I'm moving him to such and such. I'm not telling you what not to do. Okay, what I'm telling you is sometimes you have to trust that coach.
Yeah. And to your point, and I like what you said, you're going to run into a point where the system is bigger than you.
Yes.
Right? And I think, me, like in my past, I was a judge. I was on the parole board. And what I often found was that when you talk to those guys, particularly those guys and women who are incarcerated, some of those individuals just can't get their head wrapped around that you're part of this society. You're part of this system. And if you keep going outside of the confines of what we deem allowable or unlawful, you're going to find yourself exactly where you currently are. And I think, to your point, regardless of the ancillary conversations, it's going to get to a point where you have to work within the confines of the system. Now you can work within it to be a part of it, or you can master it. And I think that's where you have those greats. You have those Tom Brady's or Bill Belichick, where they were able to master the system.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying? Yeah. Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, able to master the system. Because even those athletes, when you talk about Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan, they work within a triangle offense that the coach set.
And I saw this of it. I saw this clip on Facebook with Kobe talking about, he didn't like to lose, but losing wasn't an issue for him.
Yeah. He
said, like, winning and losing wasn't the issue. What the issue was, him being ready to play. Yeah. Him being the best player he could be on the court. Mm-hmm. And if he did everything he could do to be the best player, winning and losing will take care of itself.
And that's so true.
And that's what we have
so
to. That is the basis of what the coach is in line thinking.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay,
100%.
He's in the line of thinking, okay, I got this kid. He's really pretty good. I got this kid. He's okay. This kid, he's really, really good. This kid's okay. And he's trying to merge them, put them together into a place to where they can be the best team. The best team they can be, not the best individual they can be.
Yeah.
You can be the best individual wherever he puts you.
Mm-hmm.
And you can say, well, I don't like it. He ain't getting the ball no more.
Yeah.
Okay, what are you saying?
But that was my problem kind of with the first, whoever the coach was, the first comment that we read, because developing a championship mentality, like I said, I think as a coach, you can recognize all those. I can recognize that I have these pieces and you can assemble them perfectly. And you've done your job as a coach. But I think on the other end, if those players don't have that mentality, then it's not going to manifest itself into a championship level. And I would say, to that point, my only regret as a player is that I don't, like, looking back, is like, I don't know if I reached that maximum. I don't know if I reached that pinnacle of where I've exhausted all the potential that I have, and this is the result. And I think as a player, just talking about just on the players in currently, that's where you want to be at the end of your career, whether it's high school, college, pros, whatever. You want to maximize yourself.
I'm gonna critique you on that particular point. And I'm going to, unfortunately, agree with you. I'm going to agree with you, but I think at the time that I got there and you were there, you were already beyond football. You were, you didn't have Sunday. You didn't have Sunday thinking. You weren't thinking Sunday. At least it didn't come across to me.
No, I wasn't.
So you were already looking for this life, maybe even the life that you got now. You were looking for that, and because you were looking for that, you were doing everything that you needed to do to get that. To your point earlier about putting all that focus into the football, your focus was in that career.
Yeah.
And in football was the afterglow.
But I'll say this. I think if the focus would have, if I'd have put more into the football, then this could have been accelerated. Because I think that's what happens. Again, we all know that everybody ain't going to play on Sunday. But I think even at a small college, if you're All-American or All-Conference, those things accelerate that career.
Yes.
And that's my point. And I'm not saying put all your eggs in one basket. I'm not obviously saying that. But what I am saying is that if you're going to do it, you need to do it.
Well, I'll make the case that football has opened doors for me to do things that I would have never done because of that accelerated career, being able to find Sunday, be able to get a little accolade.
Presenting last week.
Yes.
That's what I'm saying. You got to understand that opportunity
doesn't happen
to everybody. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, and
that just don't happen.
And the work that if you are willing to put that kind of work in on the field, on the court, whatever it is, you put that there. You don't know any other way to do another job. When you get a job, you're gonna put put the work in, and you're gonna want to accelerate.
And you don't know who's watching.
Exactly.
You never know who's watching because I'm telling you, it's some guys out here who were great high school players, and people remember, like, man, you were awesome, and you were my hero, and come over here with us, and let me see what you got going on now. People remember that. Levi Phillips. People remember that name forever, and they still do.
I remember that name just like it was yesterday.
Just like it was yesterday. And I never seen him play. But all that all that talent, all that carries over into your life, whether you're playing at a professional level, coaching, or you're working in a white collar job. So I'm saying, why you got the chance to do this thing, why you got the chance to be a part of this, man, go hard. Be the best you can be.
And okay, so There's another line here. But we can use football to teach leadership and positive perspective.
100%. 100%.
Can we now? Can we today?
I think that's a great question. And I think you can teach. And it's more difficult, I say, because if you got different guys coming in and out, it's difficult to mesh your team together. But I think what you can teach, you could teach, leadership amongst oneself. Because I think if you're a guy who's going to stay among the chaos, then you got to make sure that you're ready to go. You got to make sure you're ready physically, mentally, emotionally, academically. You have to be ready to go because, to your point, you don't know who's coming in and out. So I might be playing quarterback, the Villatami kid, right? He was a quarterback, a good high school quarterback. He comes in the next year, he's playing a running back, a good all-state running back. Now back to quarterback. So you don't know what you're going to be doing because you don't know who's coming in and out of the door. So you got to make sure that your leadership and you're ready to go. So I think it kind of switched, unfortunately. I don't know if that's a good thing.
Well, yeah, that's true too. Yeah. So the coach has to believe in them, but again, hold them accountable. And hold them to a standard of discipline. I've never seen it that way, standard of discipline.
I like that.
But I do like that because I think that is the standard.
Yeah.
Somewhere in wherever discipline starts, that standard, you have to hold them. Maybe youth football is different than middle school. Yeah. Middle school is different than high school. High school is different than college. College is different from pro. Whether or not you know it or not, you can't be late for practicing on Sunday.
And I just think the standard itself, what I'm saying is like, this is the standard we set for us.
Yes.
In order for us to maintain these standards, these are the things that we have to do. And if we're not willing to do that, then we're not going to maintain the standard and we're not going to go. So I like the standard part of it because I think just in society, this is a different conversation, but in society in general, we're not holding standards now.
No, I think we think that, that's okay. That ain't that bad.
Everything, it's all good.
It's good. Whatever. It's he's okay. He didn't do. No, because who's creating the boundary?
Yeah.
Where's the boundary actually at? So it's okay. Hollis just said something like that. That's okay.
But then I'm
gonna push that. I'm gonna push that limit and go a little bit further.
And the thing is, there is a boundary, and if we're saying there ain't no boundaries when you get in this. Get over here, get over there. There's going to be some boundaries.
Oh, absolutely.
You see what I'm saying? Yes. So you learning to work within those is going to benefit you moving around.
You know this person as well as I know this person. Okay, That person who can't even have a normal conversation with you without some kind of word coming in there, just in a normal conversation.
Yeah.
Where are you working at?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Because you can't. You have not. No one has told you not to say these words.
Yeah.
You don't know where not to say them.
Yeah. You have no decorum. You
No.
Yeah, you don't know when to.
I don't know that big word. So.
Yeah.
But I think the reality of that is we've got so relaxed on the culture. I don't want to use culture.
Standards.
I think standards. I think the standard of what we are as what you're going to be as an athlete and the benefits of what it is. And the coaches want to, and again, some of these coaches, they want to win so bad. They have that culture, but they gotta give it up. They gotta be flexible with it so that you don't leave.
And I understand that it's got to be a little bit of flex, but I just think as athletically, I guess that was my point, is that we got to maintain a standard here. They can tell you out there, over there, in there, whatever, there ain't no standards. Everybody can just as willy-nilly to do what they want. But in here, we got to maintain some standards, and we got to maintain some decorum, and we got to maintain a high level of discipline, whatever you want, accountability, all that, in order for us to move forward. Because if we don't do this, then we can't move, unlike maybe out there when it's all just a free-for-all. And I think that's the beauty of what athletics is, and that's what we got to get back to.
And I'm gonna say this, and this is going. I don't know how this is actually gonna sound, but I'm gonna say it anyway. And I'm looking at football.
Yeah,
football has a with the ratio of 75-80% black athletes, right? So you got that group of players, that number of players. And you're allowing some flexibility. I'm gonna give Hollis a little bit of room. He can kind of say and do, because he's my guy. He's my player. So I'm gonna give him some room. Well, somebody else is gonna try to take a little bit of that space too. Mm-hmm. Somebody else is gonna take a little bit of his space. So before you know it, you've got a team built around you as the star, me as the coach, saying all these crazy things, saying all this, and then knowing that ain't gonna work. I'm gonna let it work.
That ain't gonna work outside of this.
Yeah, it's gonna work with me. Yeah. But as soon as you start talking about trying to go to college,
or just getting a job,
or just getting a job,
that. Yeah,
just trying to get a job. You don't know how to manage that, because
that's a good point.
Because you've been free to be able to say that. So I'm saying to coaches, I know that you can't go back to old school. Old school's old school, and it's gone. But to me, look at my record, and I'm still saying, to me, mm-hmm. I think we have to be better in making our kids better.
Yeah.
Holding them accountable. If they leave, they leave.
Yeah.
See,
I just think it's the standard. I think, to me, because we could talk discipline, standard, all that, and I think those are buzzwords, but I just think, just the standard. This is the standard that we have. If you fail to adhere to this standard, then maybe you just can't be here.
Because I can guarantee you that there are some of these coaches hold a standard where they are.
Yeah.
Okay. And then on the other side of it, there are coaches who are just okay. Just I got my team and we go.
See, that's not really even to me, that's not even like the contest. That's not even it. It to me, it's saying, for example, if you're at a small community where kids don't have no choices, then that's one thing. But when you're at a GW Capital Hurricane, where these guys are just kind of moving back and forth, are you still able to, and I'm just using those schools as an example, this ain't about them. Are you still able to maintain or hold the line knowing that I can lose this kid and I can lose that kid? You see what I'm saying? I think that's the contest.
That's the head coach issue. That's the head coach issue. Yeah. Is because what you have to figure out as the head coach, And yeah, I'm giving this as some advice. If you're going to be a head coach, my thing to you is do the best that you can do for your kids. Mm-hmm. Don't make it easy for them. Don't put the standard in place. Make sure that your school, your team has a standard that they must meet.
Yeah.
It's not an option.
Yeah.
Regardless of whether or not they're going to transfer. If you transfer, so be it. This team, this school, this team, we're going to have a standard. We're going to work this hard, and we're going to go out and we're going to play this hard, and the results will be what they want to be. But at the end of your 3 years, 4 years, whatever level you're at, you're going to be successful.
Yeah. See, I can appreciate that and I can respect that. You know what I mean? And I think that if you put that on top of a coach who has the ability, the acumen to teach that standard, to teach those things, I think that's where you win at. You know what I mean? But I think in today's time, you got to maintain it. Because
right.
I just can't. I've seen it on both ends.
Yeah, it's good, and it's going, you know, going downhill.
I've seen it on both ends, and I just seen like it just doesn't work if you don't have that standard. Now, again, you're going to get lucky. You're going to maybe have runs. You're going to get a run of players that's just too good to be beat, right? But you got to maintain that standard to have that long-term success.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's the show. And coaches, hopefully you heard us. Maybe you're doing it. Hopefully, you know, you got something positive out of it. We weren't trying to be negative. We were trying to be as positive as we can. And we're out. So we'll get back to you again soon.
The opinions expressed on this program do not necessarily reflect the opinions of WVRC Media, its management, employees, or sponsors. Follow us on Facebook at Let's Talk Carl Lee. Visit WCHSnetwork.com/Let's Talk for more.